TitleMatchNetwork.com.
But I know that I went to Atlanta the very first time with the intention of getting the national exposure. That's what I was told. They said, go to Atlanta, get on TBS, and get that national exposure.
This was with Ole. Ole was
but what happened is when I came into Atlanta, right as I came in, Ole left, and I came in right on the tail end of the really great run that had just taken place there. And Ole left, and Robert Fuller. And Robert was not a great booker. He was okay. But the thing is, I had just been exposed to some of the best.
All right.
You know, and even though I didn't have the skills to do it myself at the time, I could recognize when it wasn't being done right. And but see, Robert, you know, anytime a new booker comes in, he wants to bring his crew in. And I really wasn't part of Robert's crew. But at the time, Jim Barnett was the man in control in Atlanta. And basically Jim said, you push Dibiase. Well, the way that Robert pushed me was to align myself with him.
Right.
So he put me with him in like a tag situation instead of a single guy. And it really wasn't what it should have been or could have been. And at any rate, for a number of reasons, the strength of the Crockett territory, it got real big, and Jim Crockett got much more control. Ric Flair was his man. And Dusty also had been his man. And so the belt went where the power was. And, you know, I've probably gone down in history as being the guy who made more champions than having been a champion.
Right.
And, but I mean, there's no regrets. I mean, would I have loved to have had the belt at some point in time? Yeah, sure. But, you know, the belt, when you really look at it, it's just a tool. You know, it doesn't really have that much significance within the framework of the business, other than a tool to be used to get this guy over, that guy over.
Right, right. What are some of your memories of teaming with Fuller and JYD?
Well, it was just an interesting time because they were trying to get Atlanta hot again, and JYD had become a big name down here in the Mid-South, and was a colorful guy, you know, and being black, you know, obviously he appealed to the blacks, but JYD appealed to everybody, and so that was fun. That was fun. It was a good time, but it never got back. You know, it never got back to the really heyday that they had when Ole was in here. And I think that could have been for a lot of reasons. You know, I mean, the wrestling business has always run in cycles. It's always shot to the top, and it rides that plateau for a while. And then, man, it'll start to fall off, and then sometimes recover. And sometimes it'll go all the way to the cellar. You know, just there's no interest again. And then you just kind of hovers there for a while, and boom, it takes off and runs again. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons why Atlanta never took off like it did again. But I enjoyed the time. I enjoyed Atlanta because it was the first time in my career. I mean, I spent my first year in the Mid-South putting on 3,000 miles a week. I mean, I spent 90% of my time in a car,
Right.
you know, wearing a car out. You know, then I went to Texas, the Amarillo territory. There wasn't a trip there there was only a couple of trips that were like 100 miles. The rest of them were 300, 280, 350. You know, I mean, again, so when I went to Atlanta, I went, wow.
Right.
You know, I had an apartment, and I came home every night. I never did that.
Right.
You know, and the longest trip I think was down to Albany, Georgia, which was maybe a couple hundred miles. So I got spoiled.